that she was going to be gone.
Candy is?
No.
Oh.
Jane.
Oh, okay. Oh, she's on there.
Oh, she is?
Yep. Candy, let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right. Candy says she's ready. Are you guys ready? All right. Good evening. Welcome to the Stoughton City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, June 27th of 2023, and we'll start out with the roll call.
Okay, Hirsch,
Here.
Jensen. Here. Majewski.
Here.
Reeves.
Here.
Sherlucky.
Here.
Schumacher.
Here.
Venegas. Here. Caravello.
Here.
Payton.
Here.
And Hiley.
Here.
Oh, and we have Alder Lagaki as well. So we have 11 alders present.
All right. Thank you. And we are certified in compliance with open meeting laws. The next item would be public comment period, and there is nobody signed up to speak. So communications and presentations. And just to start out as a reminder to make sure that your red light is on when you're speaking so they can pick it up out in TV and internet land. So a reminder from the IT folks to do that. Are there any communications from alders?
My last day as alder will be June 30th because I'm moving across town, so I'll no longer be in District 1, so I'll no longer be on City Council. Just wanted to thank everyone. It's been awesome, and I will come back later in life, but I'm happy for the break.
And we're happy to have you, and we're planning on reappointing you as a citizen member to the Sustainability Committee.
Yep.
I have a follow-up question to Rachel's announcement. What district will you be moving into, Rachel?
That's a good question. Over by Weeble World, where the proposed quick trip
Ah,
was.
okay. That would be District 2.
2? Excellent.
Yeah,
Okay.
so take your pick on who you want to run against.
I'm
No.
going to take a little break.
Yeah, well, thank you for serving. I know it's a big commitment, and we appreciate everything you've done.
It's been great. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. You did a great job.
Thanks.
All right, any other communications from alders? I have a couple quick ones. We will be looking for an alder to replace Rachel on the Sustainability Committee. So if that's something that you want to do, you can reach out to myself. You can email me or whatever, and we try to appoint somebody at the next council meeting. The Sustainability Committee has been meeting right now twice a month for about an hour and a half. Ideally, they would meet once a month, but they've been really motivated to get to the point where they're ready to write their plan. So they're getting really close to doing that. They've had an event where they had good attendance. They've done surveys and focus groups. I know they intend on reaching out to some staff members to get some additional information as they write the report to make sure some of the initiatives they might want to include there, they fully understand what we're doing and what our opportunities are from staff. So if you're interested in doing that, please let me know. And then I will be looking hopefully for a couple council members to serve on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Subcommittee. We're in pretty good shape as far as citizen members. We can maybe use one or two more. We had an event last week with our consultant, Abba Tucker, and we had some pretty excited people to be there. So she's in the process of getting them committed to be part of that process. That commitment is, I believe it's the third Wednesday night of the month for 2 hours, and we anticipate that one will take up to a year to develop that plan. So if you're interested in serving on that, please let me know that as well. That's all I had for communications. Next item would be the consent agenda. And there's a few items on there. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Jensen and a second by Majewski. Would anybody like anything acted on separately from the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Next item is ordinance 21. This one here is coming from Public Safety for first reading. Alderperson Jensen.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's ordinance 21, 2023, amending section 70-176 of the Stoughton Code of Ordinances relating to parking prohibited at all times on the north side of West Wilson Street, 40 feet west from Lincoln Avenue. And this is the first reading.
All right. Anything you want to elaborate on?
Yeah, this is right up by the high school. There's an issue there with students, at least we think it's students, parking too close to Lincoln, and their visibility is of an issue. So we're planning on having that area painted, the curb painted, plus signs posted, so that it'll move it back 40 feet, which is, I believe, 15 feet is the standard, and we want to move it back 40.
All right. Any questions or comments on that one?
Question.
Sure, Alder Majewski, go
If the
ahead.
standard's 15, why 40?
See again?
If the standard is 15, why 40?
Because of the visibility issues, as you can see where the car is right there, that's approximately 40 feet right now. And it gives it full visibility.
So you're saying that the 15-foot standard isn't correct then? That should be moved to 40?
In this particular case, yes, that was what they were talking about.
I'm saying, but on other corners, that it's okay to not have that visibility? I'm just looking at the inconsistency of the logic on this.
I understand what you're saying, but because of, well, Dan is not here. What was that, DJ?
I will say that the south side is also painted longer, so it would match the north side, I believe, and that was the intent behind the chief's request, to try to make it so that due to the high traffic and volume area, and that it would replicate the south side of the curb with its paint, that it would be consistent on that street corner near the high school. At least I believe that's what the argument was at the time. And I can understand it driving down that area.
Yeah, I think part of it too is you have a four-way intersection here. Not all intersections would have that, as well as on Lincoln. I think there's parking on one side. So I think maybe that's why there isn't a standard of 40 feet all around.
All right.
Okay.
I can see your point.
But we can check with Chief Jenks before we bring it back for a second reading if you'd like.
No, he just said that we have a standard of 15 feet, but they're asking for 40. I just wanted to know the extenuating circumstances.
And it's around the school, as they mentioned, is the other issue.
All right.
And, you know, I know how I drove when I was in high school, and 40 probably wouldn't have been enough. Okay, any other questions on this one? All right, we'll move to the next one, and this is also a first reading. And this one here last came through the Finance Committee, Alderperson Schumacher.
All right, you gotta listen to me for a number of them in a row here, so.
Good question. Never came up.
There we go. You gotta listen to me for a few more of them in a row now, so we'll start with this one. This is ordinance 22 of 2023. This repeals section 2-583 of Stoughton Code of Ordinances related to the investment policy. I'm gonna let Shannon and Dave talk to why we don't need this one on here any longer.
To be honest, I was surprised when I saw the investment policy codified. I've never seen a government do that, and so If you want to make changes to the policy, it's much more difficult having a codification. So the intent of this is to actually take the codification out, have it just like every other policy. And then the next resolution takes the old policy, repeals, deletes, whatever you want to call it, and replaces it with a new policy. And I can get into that detail more when we get to the resolution.
Any questions or comments on this one? Does everybody know what codified means? You might want to explain that.
And Rick, jump in if I'm saying anything wrong, but codification is basically, it's the ordinance or the law of the city. And really, how are you going, the only time you want to codify something is if you're trying to enforce it in a court. We're not going to take anything to court for not following the investment policy. Worst case scenario, if we do something really stupid, then we may not have our jobs, but we don't need to get into that.
Yeah, Dave's right. Basically, having it in your ordinance, you could. Like, there's nothing against that. There's no rule requiring it to have your investment policy in your ordinance. I would say Stoughton is maybe one of a kind in that respect in having it in its ordinances. So it's possible there could have been a reason for it being in ordinances. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. It just makes it harder to change it. There's more process involved with changing your investment policy. So again, the resolution that was next on the agenda basically does the same thing that your ordinance would do. It's just your ordinance right now, it's a little outdated, and the resolution that you'll be considering later is more in line with what the state statutes are now as far as investment policy goes.
Alderperson Jensen.
Thank you. Dave, do you see any reason to move this through tonight?
I don't think there would be any objections on my part if you wanted to waive the second reading and go with it tonight. I didn't want to make that assumption that the council wanted to do that, but that is certainly an option.
It seems like they should go together regardless, right?
Yeah.
Correct. If you have a second reading next meeting, the resolution will get tabled until the next meeting. If you're going to waive the second reading tonight, then you'll vote on the resolution tonight.
I think just to see how the council feels, I'd make the motion to waive the rules.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Jensen, a second by Alderperson Reeves to waive the rules. That takes, I believe, a 2/3 vote. And I don't remember if we can have a discussion on that. Okay, roll call vote. When you're ready, Candy.
Okay, Hiley.
Aye.
Hirsch.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Logaki.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Reeves.
Aye.
Sherlucky.
Aye.
Schumacher.
Aye.
Venegas.
Aye.
Caravello.
Aye.
Chapin.
Aye.
11 in favor.
All right, so that allows us to move forward, so I would need a motion then for the actual ordinance.
I will make the motion for ordinance 22 of 2023 to repeal section 2-583 of the Stoughton Code of Ordinances related to the investment policy. So moved.
Second by Alderperson Jensen. Any discussion on the actual ordinance?
I think we speculated in committee because of its origination date in 86 that it might have been related to fending off junk bond investing possibly, but that was about it. It was just speculating.
Wasn't Bitcoin?
Nope, not Bitcoin. It was Bitcoin of the time.
So Does this new resolution say no Bitcoin investment, cryptocurrency?
The statutes will not allow it.
So no new kids on the blockchain?
Jesus, nice.
All right, any more discussion on this one? Hearing none, all in favor of the ordinance, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. So that takes us to the resolution, if I can find it here. It's R105, and that comes from Finance Committee.
All right, R105, 2023 is a resolution to amend the City of Stoughton investment policy, what we were just talking about. So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alder Majewski. Alderperson Schumacher.
This reestablishes that in resolution format based on the Government Finance Officers Association best practices policies.
All right, anything you want to elaborate on, Director Eilinger?
The nice thing about governments is you can plagiarize the heck out of places. So I took some things that I considered best policies that I saw at some of my prior employers, incorporated those practices. One such example is that the statutes are silent if an investment falls below a required rating, and the policy then says what's going to happen, including getting the Finance Committee involved. Just kind of an overview, the investments would be the responsibility of myself, the city treasurer, and Shannon as the accounting manager for utilities. We three are a team, and we would, kind of approve of any investments that we have. Now, I think it's going to be pretty vanilla. The statutes are very limited what's out there, and if Shannon said, oh, I'm going to buy some U.S. Treasury securities, okay, I wouldn't have any problem with that. Now, if Shannon said that they want to start up a new company founded by the survivors of Enron, I might think twice about that. So I really don't see anything getting denied for it. We will be just communicating with each other. This is what I'm thinking, real quick email back and forth on it. We're looking at using either potentially Ellers or PMA, or you use Vinning Sparks?
We do have some, yeah.
Yep, so we may look at combining the investments together to potentially get a larger pool and get a little bit savings of rates or fee structure. But as was alluded to, we're using the best policies or the best practices of the GFOA for a model on it. I deleted some things that we had in the old policy. For instance, we were required to go out for an RFP for banking services every 2 years. Well, we obviously haven't done that for years, and honestly, changing banks is really much of a pain. The old policy didn't follow the statutes completely. We've got that there. We're really not adding anything on. We're perhaps a little bit more limiting on what we have for investments than what the statutes allow us to. So we will not be going out for Bitcoin or anything. We're certainly not going to follow the Orange County, California debacle from, I think that was in the 70s. But this was something that working together with all three of us, Shannon got her input on it too, so that we made sure that policy works for everybody. Stoughton Utilities, by a majority vote, was in favor of it. So we're just asking that you approve the policy as we've drafted it. I did forget to mention, we're required on a quarterly basis to provide a listing of the various investments to either the Finance Committee or Stoughton Utilities Committee, so that they're appraised of what's out there and they can see what we have. But as I said, I think it's probably going to be pretty vanilla.
All right. Anything you want to add, Director Stutz?
Nothing to add from what Dave said. I think it's a good policy. I appreciate that there's a more collaborative effort between tax dollars and rate dollars. The oversight team that's put together there, I think will work very well. In addition, I think it will give our Utilities Committee and the Finance Committee more oversight to our investments. Currently, the Utilities Committee doesn't see anything that we invest in. This will require us to give them quarterly reports. So I think all in all, there'll be more oversight and more collaboration. I think it's a good policy.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments for Dave or Shannon? Alderperson Schumacher.
If you're going to use to pool your investments and that together, does that get complicated on the bookkeeping end to keep your things yours?
Nope, they would they'd have it set in the different channels. They know which investment is for which area.
Sure.
Just like we have things in the general fund and special revenue funds, they'd be able to accomplish that too.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. R106.
R106 of 2023 is a resolution for the City of Stoughton meal reimbursement to be indexed to the U.S. General Services Administration rates. So moved.
Second by Alder Reeves. Alderperson Schumacher.
Hadn't looked at these for a decade so prices of foods and stuff have gone up, so we're just going to instead of just having to relook at this all the time, just index it to something, the U.S. service that's available for that, which makes it not really arguable.
Anything you want to add?
Yeah, the GSA updates the rates every year. It's out on the website, readily available. For in-state, I elected to use, well, let me back up. The GSA will give you a rate for the state, and it also gives you specific areas that are higher cost areas. So for Wisconsin, Dane County has a little bit higher than the rest of the state, so I elected to use the Dane County rate because most of our meals are going to be within the county if we are reimbursing it. It's also set up that if somebody travels out of state, for instance, one of our officers went to training down in Chicago with I believe it was the FBI Academy, but I can't say for certain. But then you just look up that state rate. You'd use the state rate unless you're in an area, for instance, if you go to Iowa, if Des Moines has a different rate and you're in the city of Des Moines, you use those rates. So tried to be proactive, and by indexing it to an outside party, we're getting updated figures and we can point to it saying an independent party elected for these numbers. Any questions at all for myself?
Alderperson Payton.
We're indexing against the U.S. General Services. Are there typically other methods of indexing these per diem reimbursements, or is this pretty common?
Well, the mileage is always indexed to the IRS, but the IRS is who has that out there. Currently, right now, we say we're indexing to the state. Our numbers are actually slightly lower than the state, and the state hasn't changed theirs for a decade. So indexing to that Department of Administration, it doesn't really get us up to date. So I'm not aware of any other sources, but this is a readily available source.
Makes sense.
Whether you trust the U.S. government or not is another story, but it's an independent third party setting the rates.
Great. All right. Any other questions on this one? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Next one is R107.
R107 of 2023 is a resolution to repeal City of Stoughton interest on donated funds policy. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Jensen. Alderperson Schumacher.
So another one that we haven't really looked at and updated to current standards. Just didn't seem to make any sense to have that with the way that interest is put into funds or into the, what are the line things called, the number lines on them. And
Quite a few of our donated funds are in special revenue funds, which stay separate by themselves along with all the other activity. And any fund that has a positive cash balance already is getting interest calculated on that cash balance, so donations are part of that. The document after the resolution has quite a few comments and read from myself. The policy is sufficiently vague, so if you want to keep it, we're going to have to flesh it out and figure out how to do the accounting on it.
All right. Any questions on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Next item is R108.
All right, R108 2023 is a resolution to amend the 2023 adopted budget by approving agreement heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system evaluation and design services for the library. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Hirsch. Alderperson Schumacher.
This one had an original budget of $10,000 just to do, or for the evaluation of it. And it was Strand, is that right? Strang. That had come back with a higher, but it's the evaluation and the design for the modifications instead, and that exceeded the $10,000 originally set out.
Okay. Director Shield, do you want to explain the rationale behind that?
Yeah, certainly. So when we were talking to consultants who would do the evaluation, it came to light that it made sense to engage the company that would do the design work, the evaluation as well as the design work. This would take the project all the way through bidding, and they would actually do the construction oversight once the contract would be awarded for construction. So we think there's merit in sticking with the same firm that's doing the evaluation all the way through to the design of the infrastructure. This hopefully will also allow us to solidify the 2024 budget by having the design completed yet this year in preparation for adoption of the budget for 2024 in early November.
All right. Any questions or comments on this one? I think the other thing I heard during finance is you're trying to make there's multiple systems in there. Is that how you would describe that?
Certainly. Yeah, we've upgraded boilers and some of our condensing units over the years, but we've got an older part of the building that's not served as well with ventilation systems and humidity control. Temperature control throughout the building needs to be addressed. So we really want to look at the building holistically. That's why it was included in the CIP for at least the initial evaluation this year. The CIP for 2024 does include $120,000 for anticipated improvements to the system. This really just accelerates that process, takes us all the way through the design and the bidding in preparation for the work to be completed in 2024.
All right. And Director Ramsey's on here as well. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Jim?
No, excuse me. No, not really, other than as Rodney said, there are multiple systems in this building, and there are some issues. And yeah, we're looking forward to this project. I I think it's a good one, and it's very needed. That's all.
All right. It's kind of ironic that we're talking about it today with the air quality the way it is. But President Hirsch?
Rondi, and maybe Jim too, I think when this first came up was during COVID, and we were talking about upgrading, and besides the outside air quality, indoor air, is this all gonna be updated as well, so the indoor air quality is improved as well, in case we have another pandemic or whatever?
That's part of the whole
COVID.
evaluation, evaluating indoor air quality and designing systems to take that into account going forward.
Okay, excellent.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, in fact, the technician that Martin and I met with, he said he had just given a presentation on that very topic, indoor air quality in the COVID era. He and I talked about the CDC recommendations for the different, for the rate of air change and the filters and all, like everything like that. We feel like this is a good opportunity to address those things, seeing as the system needs to be replaced.
Yeah, and I think we've been doing that in all the buildings as we come across them, would you say, or?
Yeah, certainly we've been upgrading all the systems as we do major replacements. This one has some more, I'll call it legacy equipment, because much of the equipment was installed in about 1990 when the major addition was put on the facility. And air quality and temperature control systems weren't as advanced as they are today, so we hope to make improvements on both.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Looking forward to that.
Alderperson Schumacher.
Rodney, as we're looking at the different, speaking about air qualities and things like that, do any of the buildings that you know of, do they do UV treatment to the air that's coming through there? I mean, filters aren't going to take care of virus particles, but do any of them have the UV?
Currently, we don't have UV.
Okay.
That's part of the evaluation that we'll do for the library, and looking at opportunities to retrofit in areas where that might be necessary for other facilities in the future.
All right, because I think it's their UVA, UVB in there, but there's also another technology. There's a plasma discharge, one that's really, really effective.
Yeah,
on that.
There's a lot of technology
Right.
that kind of has spiked and kind of gone, I won't say backwards, but it hasn't been as promoted as much again. But that's not to say that's not appropriate, so that's what we want to evaluate for this facility first.
Okay.
All right.
We said that we weren't gonna, that it wasn't gonna change any of the old book smell in the library, so it's gonna stay.
It's part of the charm.
Right.
Old book smell.
That's
Yeah.
there to stay. Not too old.
Not too old, but I mean, it gives you that, you got the haptic feedback on it, and you get the smell. That's
Good.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries.
I can't let DJ get in all the jokes.
Yeah. Next item is related to sustainability from Finance Committee.
All right, R109 of 2023 is a resolution to amend the 2023 adopted budget for the Sustainability Committee. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Hirsch. Go ahead, Brett.
This one, we forgot to do like a carry forward in this one, so it's they were running in a negative, but now this makes it right of the original 10,000 that was allocated by council for them. So it shows that they have that again.
Yeah, basically they're getting the balance of what they didn't spend last year to finish their plan. Anything that we missed, Dave?
That pretty much encompasses it, yes.
All right. Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, next item goes through the Food Pantry Committee. We don't have any alders on there, so would somebody want to introduce this one? Somebody other than Schumacher?
Sure.
Thank you.
This is R110 of 2023, approving the mission statement of the Food Pantry Committee of the Stoughton City Council, Stoughton Area School District, and the Stoughton Chamber of Commerce. And I so move.
Is there a second? Second by Peyton. And then Mike Heger is here. He represents the food pantry. You can kind of give an overview of this one. I'm not really sure how you guys got involved in this conversation, but you can kind of give us a little history.
You can look on with your neighbor. There's
All right.
3 or 4 going each side.
Yeah, and if you could just email Candy a version so she has it for the records.
Policies of the Stoughton.
Push the red button.
Yeah.
There you go.
The policies of the Stoughton Food Pantry are part of our handbook. And the mission statement is the first page of that handbook. The mission statement was adopted, we believe, in about 2003, but we never had an exact date. It was adopted by the City Council. The problem with the mission statement as it's currently written is that it's not really a true mission statement. It's a mission statement with a lot of policy implications. And what we wanted to do is eliminate the policy and make it a simple mission statement, which I think we've got up there. The goal is of the food pantry is simply to help those in need who live in the Stoughton Community District. There's a fundamental issue in the current policy that particularly is difficult for us to deal with. The current mission statement says that we meet TFAP guidelines. TFAP is the Emergency Food Assistance Program of the federal government. And it says we would meet TFAP guidelines. I put the TFAP guidelines out to you so you've got a copy of that. For example, current TFAP guidelines say you qualify to come to a food pantry in the United States if you're a family of 4 and your income is under $60,000. And essentially it's basically take the number of people in the family, add 20,000 to it, and that's the number. So one person essentially is about $30,000. 2 people is $40,000. Rounded off to the nearest, to a nearest amount. The problem with that agreement is every year we sign an agreement with TFAP, and that agreement says the only people who can receive TFAP food, the food we get from TFAP, which is about 30% of our food, are people who meet these guidelines. The current mission statement says, well, beyond that, if you don't meet these guidelines, we're still going to give you food. And it creates kind of a conflict. It creates a conflict in a number of different ways. Number one, if you ask the pantry volunteers who work there, other than maybe myself and one other person, nobody knows which is a TFAP food. There's not a big label on it that says TFAP food, food we get from Aldi, food we get from Second Harvest, food we get from donations. It's just food. And I know it because I do all the ordering, but I'm probably the only person. And as a result of that, if somebody walked in and said, I don't meet the guidelines, but I really want food, I don't know how we would tell people, well, you can have this, but you can't have that. And you know what? I don't really know what you can have and can't have because it's not labeled. It's not marked government food. And so it creates a difficult issue. The second thing is that when the policy was adopted back in 2003, when the mission statement was adopted in 2003, the numbers were far lower than what they are today. If you look at these numbers, I think most people are almost surprised by the large number, or by the dollar figure for those families. A family of 4 qualifies if their income is under $60,000. A family of 5 if their income is under roughly $70,000. The other thing that happened is the first column used to be the only column that TFAP put out. They came to realize a couple years ago that what happens when somebody is laid off? Your income is $75,000. You don't qualify if you're a family of 4 because you got to be under 60. But if you're laid off, what's your income right now? Your income for the year might have been $70,000, but your income right now might be close to 0. And so what they did, we can now ask you, you don't have the annual income of under $60,000 as a family of 4, but do you have a weekly income of under $1,154? So suddenly that family that didn't qualify before now qualifies if he was laid off, if he had a major health issue or something that prohibited him from earning his regular salary. So we don't think it's necessary at all. we did a survey among the board members, and I've been on the board for, I think this is my 8th or 9th year right now that you've appointed me to. And we've never had a person come in and say, I don't qualify, but I still need food. Would you please help me out? We've never had one person come in that 8 or 9 years. So the issue is pretty much a mood issue in that we would just like the mission statement to simply state, quite simply, and we put it out, I think, I don't know, you've got a copy of it up there. But the mission statement would be, the City of Stoughton Food Pantry, since its founding in the 1990s, and through the work of its many volunteers, provides food to eligible individuals and families within the Stoughton School District. And that, in my mind, is a simple mission statement that states, this is the goal of the pantry, and we have a lot of dedicated volunteers who work to try to make that happen. And so we would like that to be the new mission statement, replacing the lengthy one that was more than a mission statement, but was as much a policy statement as a mission statement.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Mike?
Mike, one, thanks for all that you do for the food pantry. My question is, if a person comes in, do they have to show you how they qualify or how they're eligible?
If you come into the food pantry today, we have this chart on the wall at the food pantry. I would say, how many are in your family? And you would say, well, there are 4 in my family. And I would ask you, is your income under $1,154 weekly? And you would say, yes, it is. That's it. You self-verify. You don't have to present any evidence. We trust your honesty. And so you self-verify the income level.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
No. Okay. I got one.
Go ahead.
Also, thanks, Mike, for the food pantry stuff and the staff and everybody that works down there. I would only say like 2 possible edits on the mission statement, and I know you want to keep it as short as possible, but I would say, provides food and personal items or something, because you guys just don't have just food in there.
That's correct.
But I mean, so that if anybody sees this, that they say like, oh, I can only go down there for food, I couldn't go down there for, toothpaste or something like that. But just that, and then Stoughton area school district, just technical. That's it.
Are you okay with that?
I'm perfectly fine with that.
So we'd probably need an amendment to that effect, if that's what you want to do.
That's great.
Okay. Then I will offer up an amendment to this to add into the mission statement in the section of provides food and personal items, the addition, and then add Stoughton area school district to finish that out. So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Caravello. All right. Did you catch that, Candy?
I have it, thank you.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed to the amendment? The amendment carries, so it takes us to the original motion as amended. Are there any questions on that? Alderperson Payton.
Thank you so much for coming and for working on this. I think it's a great service, and I'm proud to be a part of it in this way through the council.
And you as a council and you as a city are uniquely a part of it. We get a lot of support from you folks. We have the facility that we have. Yes, we might want it to be larger and a few other things, but...
Oh, I'd love that too.
And by the way, I'd really invite you to see it last week. We had about a dozen volunteers spent Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday working on taking everything out, cleaning it, stripping the floors. Wolga Myers came in and donated their labor, donated the material, put in new flooring, vinyl plank flooring for all of us. The volunteers painted the entire thing, and then we put it all together on Saturday afternoon, and we only lost one day where we opened. The other thing I'd like to point out to you is how much busier we are of late. Since March, And that's when the federal government changed the food share program, the food stamp program, now it's called food share. We have seen an increase of 67%. Year over year, we've seen an increase of 106%. We have added new hours. Starting next week, we're going 9:30 to 2:30 instead of 10 to 2. We've added another evening hour. On Tuesday evenings, we're now open. We've seen just a dramatic increase, particularly when food share went down. During COVID, there were a lot of government handouts, child care credits and food share, huge increases in food share. And then I'm not even sure what that general supplemental check that everybody was pretty much getting. When that's all died out, during COVID, our usage went way down. Our usage is flying. I was working last week, Wednesday, a person called, and that would have been 2 weeks ago. A person said, "Can I come in tomorrow?" I said, "Every appointment we have is booked Thursday," and that included all Thursday nights. They said, "Can I come in Monday?" I said, "Every appointment we have on Monday is booked solid." "Can I come in Tuesday?" I said, "Yeah." I mean, we are literally booked, and with people coming in, and a lot of times we're staying late to accommodate people. A lot of people have come in from the Ukrainian families that are coming in. They generally come in twice a month. We've seen just a tremendous growth, and thank God we've got about a core of about 25 volunteers who do an awful lot of work, who are busy picking up food. Today I went to Menards and picked up stuff. Tomorrow morning I'll go to Quick Trip and pick up stuff. I'll go to Walmart and pick up stuff. Then I'll work the 10 to 2 shift, and after the 10 to 2 shift, then I'll do food pantry deliveries for people who are homebound. There's a lot of people spending a lot of time, and thank you for all your support, because you have been great. I thought Donna was a wonderful mayor, and she was, and she worked hard with us. And then we got Tim, and Tim's a wonderful mayor too. He's done a tremendous job and is so helpful and supportive of our group. And I wish some of you would stop down and give me a call and pay a visit and see what we've got down there and see how we operate, because it is your food pantry. It is the City of Stoughton food pantry, and it really is great.
Definitely.
Okay, so anytime you want to stop in, give me a call. Tim's got my email and my phone number, I think, and I'd be delighted to show you around, and you can see what you've got.
I think it's a great service. It's unfortunate we're in circumstances where we need that service, but it's a great service, and I'm thankful that you're there and the whole team working on it. My question about the mission statement is, we're removing policy pieces, and as a newer alderperson, I do have a question of where some of those policy pieces now come from. What's the guidance? If it's no longer listed there, is there back-end guidance for it? There's our ordinances and other things, I'm sure, or resolutions with establishing the committee, but...
And we have this is our policy handbook.
Great.
And it is all in this policy.
So it's unnecessary to be in the mission statement because you already have everything backed up.
Because they are policy issues.
Great.
If you'd like a copy of the mission, I can send you an email copy.
Great.
And if you need to read it one night, you'll fall asleep a lot better, I'm sure.
Like most.
All right.
Okay, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the motion as amended, say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. All right, last item, as Alder Venegas indicated, she's going to be leaving her position on the council, so that leaves us a second open position. I believe the first one for District 4, we're accepting applications till July 7th. Is that right, Candy?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And if you want, are you prepared to kind of give an overview of the process, or it was just last meeting or two that we went through it, or Attorney Matthew could as well? What would you guys like to do?
We just went through this, so.
Okay.
My thought is just simply follow the same procedures that we did in the last meeting for the, what was it?
Okay. Is that a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Hirsch. Does everybody remember and understand what we did at the last meeting?
I think if you recap it, that'd be good for the audience as well.
Candy, you want to do that?
Certainly. What was decided on was we will run a notice in the paper and have it on our website and post it as well for 3 weeks. So this will be published, first publication will be July 6th, followed by the 13th and the 20th. And we'll bring it to council, anyone that would apply on the 25th. And at that point, you can interview or ask questions, and that person should be willing to take the seat that night if you make that decision.
All right, that was pretty succinct. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, then Candy, they sit in that seat until the special election in April, right? And then they get elected, hopefully, and fill out that Rachel's term, which would have been what? She was up for election.
I have 1 more year left.
Correct.
Okay, so it would have to be in this election and then the following year election.
Correct.
Right, so I just think that needs to be clear in the article in the paper as well, what's all involved.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or ideas? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Rachel, would you like to make the motion?
I have one thing regarding the consent agenda that I noticed
What's that?
before we adjourn. In the R103 2023, about appointments to non-standing boards and committees, it just has me listed, but it has me listed as District 1.
yeah.
And
Oh.
I'm District 2.
Yeah.
You don't want them in District 1? Is that what you're saying?
He's got to sit between
I don't want
us,
to be in
so.
District, so I would prefer to be in District 2, please.
All right, looks like Candy
Little
has that.
clarification.
We'll fix that.
Thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out. All right, Alder Venegas.
Move to adjourn.
All right, is there a second? Second by Alder Mieski. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.